It may not have the beauty of my Sansui G9000dB or the power of my Sansui BA5000 power amplifier, but the Sansui 8 receiver doesn't take the back seat to anyone when it comes to sound quality. So join me as I show you the repair and restoration along with the bench testing of the Sansui 8 receiver. If you enjoy vintage audio equipment, you've come to the right spot. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell, as well as giving me a big thumbs up if you like this video and share it with others. There is a risk of serious injury or death from electrical shock working on this equipment. If you're not comfortable with working on the equipment, please do not take the cover off and consult a professional. I'd like to just give you a little background on the Sansui 8. Production started in 1970, so about 50 years ago. It's rated at 60 watts a channel into 8 ohms, 80 watts per channel into 4 ohms at 0.3% distortion. You're able to hook up 3 pairs of speakers to the unit, but only 2 pairs maximum can operate at any one time. It has AM/FM stereo. It does have 2 phono inputs, an auxiliary input, and it has 2 tape monitors. My Sansui 8, the one you'll see in the video, is a non-relay model. There was 2 models. Mine does not have the speaker relay in it. What it uses instead are fuses from the speaker outputs, which is good. You know, that's probably better than having a relay that you hope operates. Those quick-acting fuses should protect your speakers better if something happens. One thing that's interesting about this model, Sansui, we can tell what year it was even built, and what month, and what day even it was made by looking at this. As long as you got the serial number on the back of the unit like I do, the 3rd digit in is the year. So in my case, it's a 1. So mine was built in 1971, and that's just about when they started putting the relays in them. So mine must have been just before they started using the speaker relays. As I said, mine doesn't have it. The next digits are the month and the day. So in my case, it's April 2nd. So my unit was built April 2nd, 1971. So that's kind of cool, right? Usually you look at the serial number, it means something probably to the company, but you can never figure out what it means. So I thought I'd share that with you, that I even know when this receiver was built in Japan. A common issue with these, they have removable AC power cords. And gee, what happens, right? It's like those pre-out main-in jumpers that are missing on everything. When somebody tears it down, you know, they're going to take it down. They just take everything out of it, and guess what? The power cord's going to get lost. You know, normal piece of equipment, it's part of the equipment. It's hard to lose it unless you cut it or something. But in this case, this is kind of a big deal. You think, it's just missing the power cord. I don't know what kind of power cords they are, but I found a couple in thrift stores. You know, in some old hot plate, I think I found one, an old shaver. I really don't know what kind of plug they are. Now, maybe some of you guys watching this, you know what that is, and that would be great. So that's just something to keep in mind, because you find one out there at the flea market and you think, I'll take a chance on it. I'll just get a cord when I get home. You know, it may not be that simple. One thing I hadn't mentioned before in my videos, but one thing I enjoy about the hobby also is learning as much as I can about the piece of equipment I acquire. Write down where I've purchased it, who I purchased it from. In the Sansui 8's case, I had an ad up on Craigslist, and he got a hold of me, and he said he had a Sansui 8, and I said, let me come take a look at it. You know, I just write here that the unit was powered up in the guy's garage, FM sounded bad, hardly any volume, we'll have to check the unit out. And, you know, I paid 25 bucks for it. So I thought I'd just bring this up with this project. It's the same with all of them. They all have stories, where they came from, when I got them, what I paid for them, who I bought them from, and the issues I've had with them. Some know nothing about the equipment, but many do have a story. from the veteran who purchased the equipment overseas, the lady whose husband has passed away, or the guy who had the equipment in college. The stories I hear are sometimes of pride, sadness, or humor. So I just wanted to share that information with you. I haven't done that before, and it doesn't seem like most people do. You know, they just say, I've got this piece of equipment, and either they're doing this professionally, unlike me, who's a hobbyist, and they get a piece in, and they just send it back, or you get somebody who says, well, I found it at a garage sale. Another part to me repairing and collecting this stuff, and that's the history of that particular piece of equipment. And hopefully I can send on that history when it's time for me to let these pieces go someday, right? None of us are here forever, and I'll have that information, because a lot of times, you know, once the information's gone, it's gone. All right, now we'll get into the restoration work that I did to this Sansui 8. The first thing you want to do when you bring a new piece of equipment home, go to Hi-Fi Engine and download that service manual for that piece of equipment. What I always do, and you should too, is just take a look at the piece of equipment. It doesn't matter if you purchased it at a garage sale, on eBay, wherever it came from. Just take a look with your eyes, because sometimes you can find out, you know, you can have an issue that you didn't even know you had, and then maybe you can stop it from being a big issue. But, you know, it's always best to take a look at the unit first. So take the cover off, just give a casual look around and see what you see. You know, look at the top, look at the bottom, just give it an eyeball all around before you do anything else. This Sansui 8 has a good amount of dirt in it. It has some corrosion in it. I've seen worse, I've seen better. So, but you know, there's always a bunch of dirt and grime to clean out of these old units. You know, this unit's 50 years old. What do you expect, right? I'm sure it hasn't been apart like it's going to be apart in 5 decades. As I mentioned earlier, when I went to look at the Sansui 8, it was powered up in the guy's garage. So I wasn't all that concerned about using a variac or a dim bulb tester on it. Stood in the garage there for 10 or 15 minutes and it was on. Now, normally, if I would have purchased this and had no idea when the last time it was turned on, something 50 years old, I would use a variac, I'd use a dim bulb tester, some combination to make sure, you know, you didn't have a smoke test instead of a receiver test. When I powered it up, I noticed that just about every lamp in it was out. I think there were 2 of them, as I wrote here, that were still working. All the rest of them were burned out. Again, 50 years? Makes sense, doesn't it? And probably none of these have never been changed out. So what I did, I replaced the bulbs, got that part done right off the bat. You can do it all different ways. I knew I was going to do a lot more to this unit, but that had to be done. I got the faceplate off. Of course, the knobs came off. I was going to have to clean behind there. What I noticed was many of the push button switches had lost their little sticker. And if you take a look, Sansui 8s out there on the internet, a lot of them don't have those little stickers. What I did, I looked for them first. I couldn't find anything. So what I did, I used Photoshop to make my own little stickers for those buttons. And I also did that once for a Macintosh MX115. It was missing that bezel right there in the front that a lot of MX115s lose their bezel. What I did was, again, use Photoshop to make a bezel. Those bezels are $100 or more. You know, I wasn't going to pay that. So, and you learn a new skill. So that's what I did here on the Sansui 8. You may have seen my video of how to do a quick check on any receiver or amplifier for DC offset. And so that's what I did on this unit. I powered it up, I stuck my meter probes into the right and the left channel, and I had 1.7 volts from the right channel. not 1.7 millivolts, 1.7 volts. And again, keep in mind, this particular unit does not have any type of protection circuitry in it. There's not a relay there. Normally, 1.7 volts in any type of a piece of audio equipment would set off the protection relay, whether you like it or not, with whatever DC is on the speaker outputs. So again, it's just shows you how important it is. Just do a basic test. 1.7 volts DC, you do not want that going to your speakers. So I troubleshot that problem first. I'm going to get in there and I'll pound the table here. I'm going to get those electrolytic capacitors, but I wanted to fix this first. And it was caused by 2 transistors on the driver assembly. So I went ahead and actually, let me tell you about the driver assembly. They just unplug from each channel. So they're quite easy to get out, quite easy to get in. And so what did I do first? I always tell you guys how to troubleshoot a problem. I only had a problem in one channel, so I took that right channel's driver board and I put it in the left channel. And I took the left channel's driver board and I put it in the right channel. And the problem went with the driver board. So that's how I narrowed down the issue, that it was the driver board. And then I troubleshot the issue and got that worked out. Okay, well, you know me, I got to get those electrolytic capacitors out of there, these 50-year-old electrolytic capacitors. Most of the assemblies, easy to really get into a position to work on them. You know, there's enough slack in the cables, and really it didn't matter if it was the tone control board, the power supply board. I could just unhook them, unscrew them from the chassis, and then just pull them out, and I had plenty of slack to do the work. I decided to restuff the capacitors in this unit. Why did I do that? I don't really know, other than I wanted to just do something a little bit different, and it's good to have that skill, you know, especially in some of these old tube units. Not so much in this unit. It's just a single section electrolytic. There's 2 of them. Not difficult to replace. I could have done it that way, but I think, you know, maybe I needed a little bit of practice, because some of those old tube units that have 3, 4, and 5 section electrolytic capacitors, sometimes that's something you need to do to keep the look of it. In this case, I really didn't have to do it this way, but I went ahead and did it that way. And, you know, I cut the can open with a Dremel. You cut it right down low. The new capacitor is much smaller. That's one thing about the modern capacitors. All of them are almost always physically smaller than the old ones. So the new capacitor went right up in the can easily. Had plenty of room for it, and so it wasn't a big deal to do that. I changed out about 40, 45 capacitors in this unit. And I always tell you the same thing, don't I? Just buy something of quality. This one I use Nishinikon again. I changed out those electrolytic capacitors. I set the bias. She looks great. Now all of her dial face is all lit up, and that looks great with the new bulbs. I think this unit's ready to start its next 50 years. And you know me, I'm going to bench test this stuff. I always do. This was one of those units where, you know, you had to do a little bit of everything too, but no kidding, right? After 50 years, what do you expect? Now it's time to bench test the Sansui 8. It's rated at 80 watts a channel into 8 ohms at 0.3% distortion. I'm using a signal generator along with my Sound Technology 3200A audio analyzer to test the Sansui 8. First, we're just going to see how well the 2 channels track together. As you can see here right now, this is our left channel here, this is our right channel here. Both channels are putting out about 1 watt per channel. We're going to go ahead and run this up a little ways and see what she'll do. We're now at over 5 watts a channel. You know, the two channels are tracking right even with each other. That's the great thing about this piece of test equipment that I'm using, instead of using an oscilloscope. I mean, this, you could look at the sine wave, and then you could figure out what voltage you've got, and then go ahead and do a little math, and then figure out the same thing here. But it's just real nice. I can sit here, I can turn the volume control, and I can just watch it. You know, I don't have to watch anything but those numbers that are on my audio analyzer. Running a little bit over 40 watts a channel, continuous, with a 1000 hertz sine wave. She's just sitting right here. I'm going to back her down a little bit, and then I'm going to just let her sit in here for a minute. Well, actually, let's go ahead while we've got this thing running, you know, pretty stiffly here. We're doing over 40 watts a channel, so let's just for a minute, let's just check the distortion on the channels. I'm going to get my finger down here, actually up here, and I'm going to push the total harmonic distortion button, and right now we're looking, you can see it says channel A, but that corresponds to the left channel, showing here our 40.7 watts. And we're running at only 0.14 distortion. This receiver is rated at 0.3, so that's excellent. Let me go ahead and hold the camera, see if I can push that button down here below where my finger is. That will be the other channel. The right channel is now showing here, and this is the distortion. Again, 0.1, just a little bit over it. So, you know, you're not going to get any better than that. See what it'll do. So here we go. Turning it up. I'm going to take her right to her 60. You know, this is really stressful on the amp. You're going to be running 60 watts continuous? No. So we're right at 60, and I'm going to ramp her down from here. At 60 watts, about 0.2% distortion. So I'm going to take her down from here. I mean, the age of this old amplifier, I always cringe a little bit when I do this, to be honest with you. Are you ever going to run it like this? Never. Right? Never. You know, if you're running 60 watts continuous with this, it's basically putting a distorted square wave into your speakers, and you've blown them anyway, so what's it matter? We'll go over, we had the left channel down here. I'm going to just hit the B channel down here, which corresponds actually to the right channel up here. So now we're over here. We've got our right channel at 5 watts a channel, about at 0.1. So now what are we going to do? You said it. We're going to run up the right channel now. All right, where are we at now? About 57. That's good enough. You know, once again, now running, as I said, the right channel is running at 0.2% distortion at 57 watts continuous, which is just under its rated 60. Why push it anymore? Now, what can you say? The Sansui 8 just performed outstandingly. You know, and now you feel good, or I feel good. I'm going to put it into my stereo. I know it operates well. I know it's as good as it can be. Thank you for viewing my Sansui 8 receiver repair and restoration. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up down below. If you're a non-subscriber and you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. For you subscribers out there, thank you so much. And I hope you all have a good day.